Welcome to today's edition of the Rush 24/7 podcast.
And greetings once again to all of you, conversationalists, music lovers, thrill seekers, all across the fruited plain. Great to have you with us. It's Rush Limbaugh, and this, the one and only Excellence in Broadcasting Network. Our telephone number, if you want to be on the program today, is 800-282-2882. If you want to send an email address is lrushbo@eibnet.com. Very predictably, ladies and gentlemen, the media, the American left, is trying to score some political points as a result of this tragedy at the Holocaust Museum in Washington yesterday. And as predictable, they are trying to blame this on me, other conservatives, and right-wingers. It's the traditional approach taken by the American left. The facts of the case, however, are such that if we want to start assigning blame for this beyond this nutcase Jew hater, and notice that very few people actually want to do that. They want to claim this guy didn't have the ability to act on his own. He only could act if he was inspired by somebody. Well, who did he hate? He hated both Bushes. He hated neocons. He hated John McCain. He hated Republicans. He hated Jews as well. He believed in an inside job conspiracy of 9/11. This guy is a leftist, if anything. This guy's beliefs, this guy's hate stems from influence that you find on the left, not on the right. But let's listen to some of the audio sound bites from the drive-by and the state-run media from yesterday afternoon through last night. Here's the first. This is a montage of cable stations talking about the incident last night.
Clearly, Obama's election has fueled the right-wing extremist movement.
This is a political action by a far-right extremist.
The rise of hate groups in the United States, of right-wing extremists.
Right-wing religious-based domestic terrorism.
Right-wing extremism.
There is a rising climate of right-wing hate, a lot of it directed at Obama.
See how this is being set up, and it's all very predictable, but the truth is just the opposite of this, which I'll get to in just a moment. Here now is Hillary Clinton this morning at the State Department.
Terrible tragedy. The kind of hatred that the killer evidenced over many years toward different groups within our society is deplorable. And I hope that we will be able to send out a clear, unmistakable message that hateful rhetoric, violence based on any kind of discriminatory attitude toward any group in the United States is not acceptable.
Mrs. Clinton rhetoric did not pull the trigger. A sick, depraved human being pulled the trigger. I wonder if any of these people denounced the hateful Islamist and his record that killed that Army recruiter in Arkansas. Most of the state-run media organizations didn't even bother to report that incident. But a Muslim, converted Muslim, American, converted in jail or something along the line somewhere, in an act of militant Islamist terrorism, shoots Sergeant Long in Arkansas. And there's no concern for any of the rhetoric that might be circling around in groups that would have inspired that guy. In fact, they've very seldom even reported it. They were too busy trying to make political points out of the death of the late-term abortion doctor. Now, this is exactly what the left does. The left runs our government. The left in this country is creating a very dangerous climate, and they're doing it on purpose. This president thrives and needs chaos and unrest. An incident like this yesterday, I dare say, had people on the left applauding inside their hearts for the purposes of advancing their political agenda. And yes, I mean to say that. And you can tell with the eagerness that the left and its cohorts in the media went to television last night to try to make this a political thing. They are excited. This is a great political opportunity for them. That's the first emotion that they felt. This is not new. Let's go back to April 24th, 1995 in Minneapolis. President Clinton said this shortly after the Oklahoma City bombing.
We hear so many loud and angry voices in America today whose sole goal seems to be to try to keep some people as paranoid as possible and the rest of us all torn up and upset with each other. They spread hate. They leave the impression that by their very words that violence is acceptable. You ought to see, I'm sure you are now seeing the reports of some things that are regularly said over the airwaves in America today. It is time we all stood up and spoke against that kind of reckless speech and behavior.
Now, that was the President of the United States, Bill Clinton, and a very egregious example of blaming me. This is 1994. He was blaming me for inspiring McVeigh to go out and blow up the Murrah building in Oklahoma City. And we shouted loudly when he said this. And the then White House spokesman Mike McCurry backtracks. And no, we were talking about the shortwave radio communications of the Michigan militia, which, of course, nobody heard. That's not what he was talking about. But they did back off of it. But they said it, and it was an opportunity for them. They are trying to build government. They want love for government, and they want to create as much unrest and foment discord among groups of people in this country to create the chaos and the unrest they need to implement their agenda. Now, let's look at this responsibly. Let's look at this rationally. Wasn't it President Obama who just recently compared the Holocaust to what the Israelis are doing supposedly in Gaza? President Obama has a lot of friends that are Jew haters. Jeremiah Wright made news just yesterday by saying, them Jews will not let me speak to Barack. I won't be able to speak to Barack until 5 years into his presidency or 8 years into it, because them Jews won't let me speak to them and won't let him speak to me. Obama runs in a very sick circle. He listened to Jeremiah Wright's anti-Jew, anti-American sermons for 20 years. This friend of his, this Khalidi guy, another one, radical Palestinian, very anti-Semitic, now a professor at Columbia. He is an Obama buddy. You see, President Obama is using race, as he did in his selection of his first Supreme Court nominee. He is dividing this nation in every way possible. That is the tactic of an authoritarian. It is the tactic of the statist. He is one opening dialogue with Iran. Iran is run by Jew-hating nut jobs who deny the Holocaust, yet they insist on unleashing another one. While denying the Holocaust, Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, to whom Barack Obama wants to speak without preconditions, is promising another Holocaust. What kind of message does that send throughout the nation and the world when we are willing to sit down and talk with preconditions, without preconditions, to somebody who has sworn numerous times to wipe out Israel? The anti-Jew rhetoric in this country today comes from the American left and from the circle of people that are close to Barack Obama. We do not need lectures from those people on the left. It is they, ladies and gentlemen, who have a lot to answer for. It is they who are fomenting racial and religious tension in this country. This nut job, this guy that pulled the trigger yesterday, has more in common with the marchers and protesters we see at left-wing rallies. Remember that event in South Florida not too long ago? He has more in common with people like that. That's the new left. The new left is a collection of extremists who rip at the very fabric of society. You nominate a Hispanic, not because she's the best qualified candidate, but because you can intimidate those who have serious doubts about her judicial philosophy. And then you can threaten that if you oppose Sonia Sotomayor, you lose the Hispanic vote. That is destructive politics. He's not finding the best. This is identity politics. She's even now they've found out that she has said that she's a product of affirmative action and that she didn't do well on some of her tests because the cultural bias is in the test. Yet when Sonia Sotomayor stood up at the White House to accept Obama's nomination, she didn't thank affirmative action. She didn't thank any government program. She thanked conservative principles, hard work, great parents, American traditions on down the line. It is President Obama comparing the Holocaust to what's happening in Gaza. That creates a moral parallel between the mass murder of 6 million Jews and the Palestinians. That also diminishes the horror that was the Holocaust. When you tell the world that what is happening in Gaza, that the Israelis are doing something identical to what the Germans did to them in eliminating 6 million of them, then you're desensitizing everybody to the Holocaust, and you are ramping up hatred for Israel. You are ramping up hatred for Jewish people. It is coming from the Obama administration. There is a general attitude on the left that's hard for most of us to comprehend. They embrace genocide figures like Castro and Chavez and Che Guevara. They embrace these kind of people. There is a lack of human compassion for the individual. There is a total rejection of basic human nature. Instead, people are to be manipulated, corralled, and controlled. The truth of the matter is, folks, we conservatives are not focused on race. We're not focused on gender. We're not focused on religion. We are focused on individual liberty, no matter who you are. We are in the fight of our national lives to save individual liberty for everybody. And anybody who is for individual liberty is welcome on our side. Tribalism of whatever kind, income level, age, race, sex, etc., that's foreign to us. We don't group people. We don't objectify people. But the statist, the authoritarian, needs these things. A person like Obama and his inner circle have to get you to focus on all of these things. Income level, like they're doing today. With a national pay czar, they're going to set compensation in the private sector all across the country. That's the latest proposal. After denying it yesterday, they're coming out and doing it today. We'll have details on that as the program unfolds. So whatever it is, income level, age, race, sex, they have to get people focusing on all of the things wrong in America because of these inequities, income level, age, race, sex, discrimination, what have you. To be frank, President Obama needs you to be contemptuous of others so that he can appeal to you emotionally. His emotional appeal is based on creating tension. And the left has been doing this in this country for years. Feminism is a way to get men and women arguing with one another about things and get them distracted. It's all of these isms, all of this grouping of people, and then claiming they're all victims is simply about creating contempt. So they want you to hate doctors and insurance companies now. That's the next target. They want you to hate doctors and insurance companies so that they can take over the entire industry at the federal government. They want you to hate executives so that they can impose their will on big companies. They want you to hate people who make more money than you do so that they can seize their private property. Sponsoring hate, promoting hate, is an exclusive of the left. They own it. They thrive on the promotion of hate and angst and contempt and unrest and chaos. It is the only way to distract people sufficiently so that the left can accomplish its statist objectives. They want turmoil, and if it doesn't exist, they create it. Now, this Jew hater who killed yesterday was a nut. I doubt that he was influenced by anything other than his own mental illness. And that said, it is not helpful when a political party and a president and leaders of Congress engage in a very dangerous political game that creates anxiety, hostility, and downright hate among its citizens. The left runs our government. It is creating a very dangerous climate, folks. on purpose, for the purposes of distracting us so that they can accomplish their socialistic aims. The killer, this nut job, thought that 9/11 was an inside job. That's a left-wing conspiracy theory, my friends. He didn't like neocons. You know what neocons are? Neocons are Jews. It's a code word for Jews. Republican Jews who are big on American foreign policy. He hated them. Where's that come from? Who created the term neocon? The left. Who has been preaching hate for 8 years? Who has been doing movies about assassinating the president, writing books about it? The left. This guy, the Holocaust Museum yesterday, he had a lot of affection for the German National Socialists. That's the left wing. Hitler was a leftist. Washington Post today, a suspect's long history of hate and signs of strain. This guy has shades of Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber. This guy was a Mensa member. They only kicked him out because he didn't pay his dues. One Mensa person described this guy as a genius. He was a genius. He just didn't pay his dues. The Unabomber, a leftist, anti-corporate guy, had Al Gore's book in his little shack cabin. The truth of the matter is, ladies and gentlemen, if anybody's out there fomenting race and hatred for their own selfish political gains, it's the American left, certain members of the Democrat Party, and, of course, their amplifier, state-run media. We'll be back. Stay with us. Hey, folks, I can tell you right now, if you want to expose yourself to hate around the clock, if you want to expose yourself to vitriol and hatred around the clock, I can tell you where to do it. It's called MSNBC. That cable network is hate 24/7. And they have been for 8 years. Shep Smith at Fox News. Here, play audio soundbite number 9. Audio soundbite number 9 is Shepard Smith from late yesterday on the Fox News channel.
The email, to me, has become more and more frightening. It's not a new thing. It's been happening over the past few months. It's been happening, to some degree since the election process went along. I mean, we had a woman, we had a black man, we had a lot going on. And there are people now who are way out there on a limb. And I think they're just way out there on a limb with the email they send us, because I read it, and they are out there. I mean, out there in a scary place.
Now, after all of the years of hatred and vitriol, assassination movies and books about George W. Bush, for liberals to now claim that the atmosphere is somehow more violently anti-Obama is simply preposterous. The hatred and vitriol has been spat out 24/7 from the network MSNBC. They loved Obama's speech where he compared the Holocaust to Gaza. They did not denounce Jeremiah Wright. Did anybody denounce Jeremiah Wright yesterday for saying, them Jews won't let Obama talk to me? They downplayed Jeremiah Wright throughout the campaign, his racist, anti-Semitic preachings. And they attacked people who pointed Jeremiah Wright out. If you watch MSNBC for any length of time and you don't think for yourself, or if you're a little bit off your rocker, you come away from that cable channel dripping with contempt for your country, contempt for the U.S. military, contempt for a whole host of people. If you don't want hate, don't watch MSNBC. I got one more soundbite on this I want to share with you, and it's Jeremiah Wright, and it's from earlier in the week, and I don't know of anyone who has denounced Reverend Wright for this. It's a little bit hard to hear at the beginning because of wind noise, but it's this is the interview with the reporter at the Daily Press, the Hampton Roads Daily Press, David Squires, and this is what Jeremiah Wright said about President Obama. President Obama.
Have you spoken with him since he's been in the White House?
You ain't gonna let him talk to me. I told my baby daughter, I said, he'll talk to me 5 years from now when he's lamed up, for 8 years when he's out of office.
If you had anything to say to him, what would you say to him?
Same thing I've said to him all along. Don't let being in politics change who you are as a person. Once you start compromising your beliefs, you become a puppet of a political machine. You no longer yourself.
Play the beginning of this again because it goes by real fast. It's not the greatest recording, but the question that Squires says, have you spoken with him since he's been in the White House?
Have you spoken with him since he's been in the White House?
You ain't gonna let him talk to me. Oh, my baby daughter said he'll talk to me 5 years from now.
Okay, that's it. That's the instance where Obama's preacher, Jeremiah Wright, says them Jews aren't going to let me talk to him. You want to find anti-Semitism, you can find it in this country. As for Shepard Smith, whining and moaning and complaining about emails, nobody needs to tell me about hateful emails, for crying out loud. I get the most vile, sick emails attacking me as a Jew lover that you can imagine. I don't read them. I hear about them. They're in a public account, of course, as you know. I'm a conservative. Now, who do you think these hate emails are coming from? Where are they coming from? Yeah, I get people, you Jew lover, because I am faithful to Israel and a number of other things. So, Shep, you got nothing on anybody out there. And if you, the vile hate that was 24/7 in most of the American media for the 8 years of Bush, and particularly from 2003 on after the Iraq War, nobody at this point in time has ever done in our society anything comparable to the kind of hate that we got from mainstream sources. Hollywood, books, news media, hate, spat out hate was part of the daily reporting agenda for way too many years of the Bush presidency. Okay, that's my say on this. I want to move on now. There are other issues out there. I didn't want to have to talk about this at all today, but I was left with no choice because this administration and its enablers are taking this sad event yesterday and trying to further divide this country to create more chaos and more unrest so that they can more easily wrest control of more and more of the American private sector and the economy. And in that regard, the Obama administration today says that excessive executive compensation must be better managed to prevent the sort of risk-taking that jeopardizes the economy. Gene Sperling, who advises Timmy Geithner at the Treasury Department, said today that the administration does not want to impose caps on executive pay, but he also laid out for the House Financial Services Committee a list of guidelines calling on publicly held companies to link compensation to long-term performance, not short-term gains. They don't want a cap and they don't want to control, and then they lay out how they're going to do it. In typical Obama fashion, no, we're not going to control, we're not going to cap anything. We're what the shareholders. Well, who the shareholders more and more are becoming is the United States government. There's another story. A lot of graduates this year decided to screw Wall Street and to hell with the private sector. I'm going to go work for the government. And why not? You can end up being a 31-year-old know-nothing and run a car company if you work for the United States government. And it's the one sector where there is no recession, there is no depression, there's no depressed value in your holdings. Everything is just hunky-dory when you work for the government. Now, I'm telling you, this business here, reining in pay across the private sector, Sperling said in prepared testimony, the administration believes that compensation practices must be better aligned with long-term value and prudent risk management at all firms, not just for the financial services industry. That means Hollywood, too. Does that mean that Oprah's pay is going to be supervised? She's an executive, and some might say that Oprah Winfrey making $227 million a year is a little bit excessive. Now, we've always had people throughout our history who have complained about the amount of money other people make. Well, let me tell you something, folks. The pursuit of wealth. You know, I often ask you to consider, what is it about the United States of America in less than 300 years that has allowed us, to become the most powerful, for good force and nation in the history of this planet. There have been civilizations of people around far longer than we have, Europe and Asia. For some reason, the United States of America has become the most powerful nation on earth, the richest, the greatest standard of living. How did this happen? It's because we, as a nation, were founded under the principles of individual liberty. And the source of our liberty and freedom was acknowledged in our founding documents as having come from God. We were not a nation put together by a king who thought he was God's gift to the world. We now have a president behaving like a king who thinks he is God's gift to the world. The pursuit of wealth, for whatever reason, is one of the primary ingredients that led to this nation's greatness. Now, wealth always gets demonized. It always has. There's always been class envy. But never until now has there really been a serious move to prevent it from happening. This is precisely what is happening now from the Obama administration. All of this is about preventing the successful pursuit of wealth. The pursuit of wealth is what gave us the greatest economy in the history of humanity. And now we have an administration who wants to shut all that down. The private sector is not going to be the focus of this country. The public sector is going to be, and the people who run it. I don't have time to go into motivations and explain why they're doing it. It's enough that people understand that they are doing it. I know why they're doing it. They're statists. They want ultimate control. It's a power trip. It's also born of beliefs about this country that are untrue. Many of the people making these moves are simply poisoned with their own hatred for this country. I would submit that there has to be an element of hatred for what this country is to make the assaults on this country that are being made. Whatever's being done here in the name of fairness and equality is not being done because somebody loves this country. It's being done because somebody doesn't like it. Or a whole host of people don't like it. There's something unjust and immoral about it. Now, Obama's book publisher, Crown Publishing, division of Random House, they're laying people off. His book publisher laying people off, but you know what? He got a $500,000 advance 5 days before assuming office to write a children's book. I don't know of a president ever signing a book deal upon entering the White House. Isn't $500,000 in advance for a book, isn't that risk-taking? Obama says we've got to get risk-taking out of the scenario of compensation. If you take risk-taking out, if you remove that, you wave bye-bye to capitalism. You simply, it's in your rearview mirror as you're heading down the road to serfdom. Capitalism in the rearview mirror as you're headed down the road to serfdom. If you buy into this notion that risk-taking is something that needs to be punished, they're finally opening up and being honest about what they want to do. They want to punish achievers. They want to punish risk-takers. The Obama administration, here it is from state-run AP, the Obama administration says executive compensation must be better managed to prevent the sort of short-term risk-taking that it's so known for. Now, if we're going to cap people's pay, and make no mistake, while they deny it, it's what they're doing. If they're going to issue guidelines calling on publicly held companies to link compensation to long-term performance, not short-term gains, so they can eliminate risk-taking, then let's do the same thing with people who work for the government. Let's cap government pay at $100,000 any year there is a deficit in the annual United States budget. let's also include all of the imputed income for benefits of any kind federal employees get, from their cars to their health care to whatever it is. We taxpayers are taking a huge risk each and every day, turning over the finances of this country to this current crop of leaders. And when they blow it, and they have blown it big, it is an utter disaster. Do you realize nothing Obama has done has worked? Nothing has succeeded. And now they come along and they want to nationalize health care, the same bunch that with their stimulus package gave us record unemployment. Almost 2 million people unemployed since the stimulus bill. The same people who promised a thriving, burgeoning economy with people going back to work now want to take their expertise. The same people who helped destroy General Motors and Chrysler. The same people who told private sector investors, you. The same people who have botched everything they have tried. Now tell us, only they can administer health care. So we cap government pay, $100,000 a year. Anytime there's a deficit, anytime they don't fulfill what they claim that they're going to do. You talk about risk-taking. You talk about damaging. This administration is damaging the entire U.S. economy. They are damaging and attacking the U.S. private sector. They ought not be rewarded for it. And if any federal employee leaves government after a budget deficit year, they get no pension. I mean, if we're going to start doing this kind of stuff in the private sector, then let's apply the same rules to people in the government. We'll be back. Don't go away. On the cutting edge of societal evolution, Rush Limbaugh, here at the Excellence in Broadcasting Network. And let's not forget all of the hate and venom that was directed at Sarah Palin last summer and continues to this day in the form of so-called comedy from the pathetic David Letterman, who himself, he used to have, his show was, I remember back on NBC, it was great. It was one of the funniest TV shows ever. He's just an angry old man now. Every night, angry, filled with rage about somebody, and genuinely wrong about everything he says. Suggesting that Palin's daughter was raped. She's 14 years old during a baseball game at Yankee Stadium. And who's denouncing it? Who denounced any of the hatred against Sarah Palin? Earlier this month, New York City, Israel Day Parade. Anti-Semites were on hand during the Israel Day Parade. They expressed themselves in a variety of ways, including a banner that read, "Close Guantanamo Bay and reopen Auschwitz." This all occurred with barely an outcry from the state-run media or anybody else. Last month, 4 ex-cons were arrested when they were alleged to be plotting to blow up synagogues in the name of Islam. In May, a student at Wesleyan University was shot and killed by a man apparently bent on killing Jews. Earlier this year, following a shooting of an unarmed black man in Oakland by a police officer, the local community linked oppression in Oakland with oppression of Palestinians in Gaza, forming the misguided foundation for anti-Israel and anti-Jewish sentiments to grow and find expression in Oakland, California, city that is close to being bankrupt, as an aside. There are hateful incidents perpetrated by leftists and anti-Semites frequently in this country, and they are never commented on, they are never distanced from, and they are never, ever held accountable by anybody in the mainstream media. There is hate throughout this country, and it is so vicious on the left. It's something I hadn't seen before in my life until 2003 came. And it hasn't gone away, even with the election of Obama. These people they're angrier even now. They need demons and villains, and they create them. We have an administration that's inspiring all of this, grouping people, pitting groups of people against one another, taking unfortunate incidents like this yesterday at the Holocaust Museum in Washington and making a political tool out of it. It's not possible that this deranged nutjob Jew hater pulled a trigger on his own. Of course, no, this guy had to have been influenced by somebody, and of course that somebody had to be the right wing. Then you look at who the guy hated. And you find out that he hates the same people that a bunch of militant leftists hate. And he believes in a bunch of leftist conspiracies. 9/11, an inside job, Bush knew. Just like the black poet laureate of New Jersey wrote. The Jews knew about it. All the Jews in the World Trade Center got out of the building before the planes hit. The Jews are behind it. And that guy was not only not denounced, we were told we had to understand his rage. This guy that pulled the trigger yesterday believed with that nutjob poet laureate in New Jersey, who, make no mistake about it, is no conservative or Republican. Republican Party, you're looking for something to run on, just all you need is a slogan. We're not the Democrats. We're not the Democrats. That's all you need to say about yourselves. Back in a second. Okay, first hour's in the can. A brief time out here to recharge. And for some of you leftists to calm down out there. I think we hit a home run here, Snurdly. The views expressed by the host of this show, documented to be almost always right 99.1% of the time. It's great to have you with us. I am Rush Limbaugh, meeting and surpassing all audience expectations every day. And doing it, as usual, with half my brain tied behind my back, just to make it fair. Okay. The Venezuelan government. The Venezuelan government of, and look, now this is again, the government-controlled media, Reuters. The Venezuelan government of U.S. critic Hugo Chavez. Not socialist dictator Hugo Chavez, but U.S. critic. The Venezuelan government of Hugo Chavez yesterday ordered Coca-Cola to withdraw its Coke Zero beverage from Venezuela. They didn't cite unspecified dangers to health. The decision follows a wave of nationalizations and increased scrutiny of businesses in South America's top oil exporter, that's Venezuela. Health Minister Jesus Mantilla said the zero-calorie Coke Zero should no longer be sold and stocks of the drink removed from the store shelves while the government investigated its ingredients. The product should be withdrawn from circulation to preserve the health of Venezuelans, the minister said. Coke and Coke Zero contain no harmful ingredients, says Coca-Cola, but that it'll stop production and they'll remove the product from shelves during the ongoing investigation. Coca-Cola Zero is made under the highest quality standards around the world, meets the sanitary requirements demanded by the laws of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, said the company. Despite Chavez's anti-capitalist policies and rhetoric against consumerism, oil-exporting Venezuela remains one of Latin America's most Americanized cultures. U.S. fast food chains, shopping malls, and baseball, all highly popular. The government this year, Venezuela has seized a rice mill and pasta factory belonging to U.S. food giant Cargill and has threatened action against U.S. drug company Pfizer. Chavez has also nationalized a group of oil service companies, including projects belonging to Williams Companies and Exteran. This is what happens when you have a statist in control of your country. This is what happens when you have empirical control over private business. Anybody that makes a profit is a target. This is what are you telling us what's going on in Venezuela for? Well, because the same kind of stuff is starting to happen here, is why I'm telling you about what's going on in Venezuela. Do you know, ladies and gentlemen, that we're all going to die? Get this. New computer simulations reveal a slight chance that a disruption of planetary orbits could lead to a collision of Earth with Mercury, Mars, or Venus in the next few billion years. I wonder if in the next few billion years they'll be able to predict the weather 1 week out. Despite its diminutive size, Mercury poses the greatest risk to the solar system's order. Results of the computer model show a roughly 1% change that the elongation of Mercury's orbit will increase to the point where the planet's path around the sun crosses that of Venus. So they are warning us here that in the next few billion years, the Earth might collide with another planet. And then again, it might not. But it might. Every day there's some new calamity or horror that is going to wipe out all of humanity. And of course, all of these stories, whether they are intended to or not, all of these stories promote the concept that somebody's got to save us. Somebody's got to do something to save us. And who does people look to save us? The government. I made a comment to Hannity in that interview last week, and I've said this on this program a couple of times too, but I don't think I can say it too much. You know, there's going to come a day in this country, not too distant, people are going to say, why didn't somebody tell us? Why didn't somebody warn us what was happening to our economy and our country? Well, I am the guy telling you. You are being warned. You are being told. I am the guy telling you. You know of all of the other times in history where people said, gee, they took this away and I didn't say anything. They took that away, I didn't say anything. It finally came for me and there was nobody left to defend me. I have been letting the world know exactly what's happening in this country and will happen. There will not be an excuse down the road in this country for somebody to say, nobody told me. Why didn't somebody tell us this? I just didn't know. Because you are being told. And I'm sure a lot of you are also sounding that clarion call to your friends as well. Governor Palin. Let's grab audio soundbite number 13. We talked yesterday, just as the program was ending, we got the news. Stephen Hayes at the New Republic on his blog, at the Weekly Standard, at his blog, mentioned that terrorist detainees in Afghanistan are being read their Miranda rights. This signals a huge shift once again to fighting terrorism as a criminal enterprise. It brings back the old days of the way the Clinton administration went about it. But when you start Mirandizing non-citizens, especially foreign enemy combatants on the battlefield, when you start Mirandizing them, you are granting them constitutional rights when they are not citizens. Now, if you can do that, if you can grant a constitutional right and Mirandize a foreign terrorist, enemy combatant, then I guess you can automatically grant citizenship to people who are not citizens, couldn't you? Andy McCarthy has written much about this at National Review Online, and he actually goes back and says that one of the people that can be blamed for this is Senator McCain. I don't have his story right in front of me, but Senator McCain supported something back when McCain was on his anti-torture bandwagon and was trying to curry favor with people on the left to get their votes by agreeing that the U.S. tortured people. One of the ways that McCain sought to prevent torture and make it illegal, which it always has been anyway, was to make it possible for what the Obama administration is doing. And they did this on the quiet. It took a member of Congress finding this out. Sarah Palin warned of this in her acceptance speech at St. Paul, a Republican convention last September.
Al-Qaeda terrorists still plot to inflict catastrophic harm on America, and he's worried that someone won't read them their rights.
That's exactly right. Now, Obama on March 22nd, this year on 60 Minutes said this.
Now, do these folks deserve Miranda rights? Do they deserve to be treated like a shoplifter down the block? Of course not.
Well, here you have it. There's Barack Obama, March 22nd. No, they don't deserve Miranda rights. They're getting them. They are being Mirandized in Afghanistan today. So once again, it's not what Obama says, it's how he says it that appeals to people. Yesterday, this all came up at the afternoon press briefing with the most brilliant and articulate press secretary we've ever had, according to several in the government-run media. Major Garrett of Fox News said, do you know if it's true or untrue, the Miranda rights that are read to terrorists in Afghanistan?
I have no reason to disbelieve a member of Congress, but I don't know any of the circumstances that are involved around it.
Would it come as a surprise to the White House that that's what would be happening?
It's not a surprise to me.
It's not a surprise. Yet your boss said on March 22nd that they don't deserve Miranda rights. And Gibbs says, yes, he's not surprised to him that it's happening. But that he didn't know it. So they aren't denying it. And, of course, it takes us. It requires us to go back and find Obama saying that they don't deserve Miranda rights on 60 Minutes in March, because government-controlled media is not going to do it. One other thing before going to the break. Now, I want to get this out of the way. It's not related to anything specifically we've talked about today. It's about General Powell. We had quite a few Donnybrook phone calls yesterday about the Republican parties. I made the case. Remember, the moderate Republican called, who actually is very conservative. I gave him the test, and he's a conservative Republican down the line. He just wants to call himself a moderate Republican for whatever. He's a nice guy. But what got him to call was my comment that I made that the Republican Party is the one that's changed. I haven't changed. I am who I am. For the last 20 years, I am who I am. I have not wavered. But the Republican Party is changing, and the reason the Republican Party lost is due to McCain, is due to Powell, and due to the moderates that are running it. And this guy called and said, well, look, I'm a moderate, and I kind of don't like the way you're talking about us. This led us, and I asked this guy during the test I gave, can you tell me one thing Colin Powell is for that you've heard him say he's for, issue-wise? Well, I guess he's pretty for strong military because he wore the uniform, but he couldn't think of anything else because Powell hasn't taken many stands on very many issues. On purpose. I mean, it's how you maintain a 70% approval rating, is you don't tell anybody what you think about anything. You just act like you're above it all. Well, we went back, 1996, the Republican Convention. Where was this? In San Diego? I think it was. The Republican Convention in 96, I think, was in San Diego. And listen to this excerpt. It's a quote. I'm going to read it to you from Colin Powell's convention speech, which was a barn burner, and he got a lot of standing ovations. I remember it. He said, I became a Republican because I believe, like you, that the federal government has become too large and too intrusive in our lives. We can no longer afford solutions to our problems that result in more entitlements, higher taxes to pay for them, more bureaucracy to run them, and fewer results to show for it. That's Colin Powell in 1996. Colin Powell in 2009 and 2008 said the American people are ready for bigger government. The American people are ready for higher taxes. He reversed himself 100% from his speech 13 years ago at a Republican convention. Now, my point here is that it is General Powell who has changed. General Powell articulated what used to be one of the planks in the Republican Party platform every election. The Republican Party used to always stand for lower taxes, less government, less bureaucracy, better performance by that government that does operate. And now he's done a 180. And all of a sudden, I'm the one not good for the Republican Party. I'm the one that needs to be thrown out of the party. I am the one, who have not changed and who still hold dear the very principles that Powell laid out at the Republican convention. I'm the one that still remains loyal to them. He's done a 180, and yet We have everybody telling us Colin Powell should be the one leading and running the Republican Party. This is why I said yesterday that the Republican Party's fate and where it is today is because of people like McCain, like Colin Powell, and like the moderates who have basically obliterated the Republican Party's traditional identity. And while they're all over the board and doing their 180s and changes of phase and position, who is it that has not changed one iota on principle? It is I, your host, El Rushbo. And now I, El Rushbo, am blamed as the problem for the party, and I, El Rushbo, have to be somehow dispatched, made to be less influential because I'm a balding white guy. That's what the Republican Party, at least people running it, have become. I got to take a brief time out here, folks. We'll do it. Be back with much more right after this. And we're back. El Rushbo here at the Excellence in Broadcasting Network and the Limbaugh Institute for Advanced Conservative Studies. Getting to your phone calls here immediately. Just a second. But get this. This just cleared the Politico wire. FBI agents visited the offices of the conservative Weekly Standard magazine yesterday after the shooting at the Holocaust Memorial Museum. They told employees they had found the magazine's address. The Weekly Standard, a conservative magazine, may have been one of the shooter's targets. You know why? Because the Weekly Standard is edited by neocons. Jewish people who are big on U.S. foreign policy and defense of Israel. Leftist-type conspiracy theories. This guy may have been targeting a conservative publication. A senior staffer at the Weekly Standard confirmed the visit with the FBI, but declined to discuss it in detail. FBI spokeswoman also declined to comment on the investigation. Two other sources said two FBI agents arrived shortly after 5 o'clock yesterday afternoon at the 17th Street offices of the magazine. They told staffers they had found the address of the magazine on a piece of paper associated with the shooter, James Von Brunn, and asked whether the Standard had received any threats. They are about a mile north of the Holocaust Museum, and there's no other indication that Von Brunn had targeted it, but he did have their address. So, quite interesting out there, isn't it? Now, these Miranda rights for terrorists. When can we expect congressional hearings on this policy? Nobody knew it was happening. The president's press secretary didn't know it was happening. When will there be congressional hearings? And I have another question. If we are going to Mirandize enemy combatants on the field of battle, we are in a war in Afghanistan, folks. We're not there in a police action. We're there in a war. If we're going to Mirandize terrorists, the enemy combatants, does that mean they don't have to say anything until they get a lawyer? And if they can't afford a lawyer, are we going to appoint one for them? I mean, isn't that part of the Miranda rights? So where are the congressional hearings on this? Let's go to the phones. This is Mo in Columbus, Ohio. You're up first today, sir. Great to have you with us.
Hello there, Mr. Rush.
Hi, sir.
Okay, two statements, man. One, man, on some real talk, I never met a Republican that wasn't racist, man. I sit back and listen to you talking about how the left and the libs were racist and this and this. Dude, you got it flipped around the other way, dude. I've never in my life, and I remember Snurgley commented to me for Snurgley, I didn't know you personally. I'm talking about that I know personally in my life. And I know a lot of people, man. Never met a Republican that wasn't racist or biased about almost everything. Number two, you keep bringing up Obama's brother that living in the hut like him and apparently him and Obama aren't close. So you're telling me that you're cool with everybody in your family, so everybody in your family is just outstanding taken care of? Because I have people in my family that's homeless, and I'm not trying to help them out.
Mo, hang on here just a second. Now, you're making some very extreme statements here. You've never met a Republican that wasn't racist?
Never met a Republican that wasn't racist in my whole life. I'm from Ohio. Never in my life.
Mo, frankly, I don't believe you.
Okay.
I think that's how you've been raised. And I think that the people you respect as leaders have been telling you this. I think if you listen, Mo, I'm sorry, because that's such an extreme statement. It's not believable. It's not possible that every Republican you've met is a racist.
I've never met a Republican in my life that wasn't racist. I'm not saying I dislike them or anything. That's their opinion. That's how they are.
No.
So
Then you have a very distorted definition of racism. Oh, you do, sir. You don't even realize the extreme nature of that statement. You just think it's common, ordinary, everyday practice that every Republican is a racist. Clarence Thomas a racist? I don't even want to get into names here with you. Now, this business about Obama and his brother in the hut. Mo, did you say you have a brother who's homeless?
I have a brother, yeah, he lives in a shelter, but I'm not, he's not going to live with me. No, he can't live with me. We're two different people, and we can't get along. No.
Okay, good point. Okay, here's the deal here, folks. You see, Mo, your story about your homeless brother is a sad, sad thing, and it is an indication of what has gone wrong in this country. You are proud to sit here and tell me that you have a brother living in a shelter and you don't do diddly squat for him. Do you realize in an America of 25 or 30 years ago, that would not be the case? Families came together and helped people in their family who were in trouble. They didn't just sit idly by and say it's somebody else's responsibility. Barack Obama is a hypocrite because he has a brother living on less than $20 a year in a hut of 6 by 9 feet. Barack Obama's a multimillionaire. Barack Obama's whole political identity is based on how we all need to help each other. He doesn't help his own family. All he'd have to do is send him $40, and the guy would have more money than he's ever had in his whole life. So, Mo, you are what's wrong with America. Your family, you're an illustration of it. Thanks for the call. And we're back. Rush Limbaugh. Talent on loan from God. Julie in Hudson, Wisconsin. Great to have you here on the EIB network. Hello.
Hi. I'm sitting here drinking in my apartment with my cat, drinking coffee and talking to you. It's an amazing thing, and I thank you for even noticing. But I have to say I saw your speech on CPAC. I didn't get to finish it because I was too busy, but it was like, it so affected my heart. I didn't know that I knew these things, but I think that, okay, let me explain this. I didn't know that I could listen to someone who's famous for speaking for America and trying to save America and as intelligent as you are and famous. And then when I heard him speak, I could hear and understand every word, and I felt like I was at home. I felt like I had found home. And so for that to be, it has to be that it is an innate feeling to know that you are by God and deserve freedom.
Well, no, I'm not a god.
I didn't say that.
Well, but no, I think you're confusing me with Obama. Evan Thomas at Newsweek said that Obama is sort of like God. I'm a mere mortal. But I appreciate what. So it was the CPAC speech that you saw.
Yes, and I didn't even get to finish it, but you could see the kind of person you were. It's very clear, so it's hard. But I had to see the speech and hear the words that form, not your radio show, because somehow I don't know if it's a format or if it's my limitations, which is likely. But I understood who you were. I think there should be more speeches out there for regular people.
Well, I don't care how you came to it. The fact is you came to it. The fact is you saw the light. The fact is it all makes sense. You understand now. You are home. You have come home. Now, I'll tell you what, that is a very nice compliment that you have given me, and I want to thank you. Did you hear what she said? She said when she listens to me, she feels like she's at home. She's come home. She must have been wandering aimlessly out there in a desert for who knows how many years. Thanks very much, Julie. I appreciate it. Here's Linda in Duluth, Georgia. You're next on the EIB network. Hello.
Hi, Rush. This is Linda, first-time caller.
Thank you.
I just got turned on to you about 6 years ago from my boyfriend, and I got to tell you, I wish I knew about you a long time ago.
Well, you do now, and that's what counts,
I
because
sure do.
it's the future that is the challenge now.
That's right. And I talked to Snerdley, and I just want to tell you something. I listen to you every chance I get, and a day without you is a day without sunshine.
Yeah, a day without me is a day without home.
That's right. And that lady was right. And what I'm really upset about is, I'm sure you get this all the time, and I do listen to you. And, I think Obama's playing games with our country. And the reason I say this is because I feel just like you. I watch him. I hate listening to him now because he just upsets me so much. But he's playing games with our country, with our lives, and there's a lot of people out there who are afraid. They don't know what to do. And, I get in trouble all the time. People say, well, those are your opinions. Yes, they're my opinions. But if people don't start listening...
Hey, look, when somebody, Linda, now, when somebody says that to you from now on, I have run into people like, well, that's your opinion. As though just because you have an opinion, it's not valid. Well, it's just your opinion. That's designed to shut you up. People who do not like the truth, Linda, consider the truth to be hate. The truth is hate speech to people who don't like it. The truth, if it challenges the little cocoon that they've manufactured for themselves to live in, and that cocoon in their life is built on a bunch of falsehoods and lies and so forth, when you penetrate that with the truth, they get mad. You've upset them, and they don't want you to do that, and so they're going to try to shut you up or say that what you're saying is insignificant because it's your opinion, and who are you? Who are you to have an opinion? It's just your opinion. Don't let them shut you up like that. Your opinion is as valid as anybody else's opinion is, especially if your opinion has the added weight of being right. And if you have been listening to this program for 6 years, I can guarantee that your opinions are correct. So you have nothing to feel defensive about. As far as Obama playing a game, I know what you're trying to say, but this is no game. This is a serious attempt at deconstructing this country as it was founded and putting it back together in a way that people will not recognize and will not be able to do anything about. It's not a game. It is dangerously serious what President Obama has in mind here. Pay caps all across industry, nationalizing as much of the private sector as he can get away with. I mean, this is just beyond the pale what is being tried here. And there are so many people afraid to stand up, and you mentioned it too. People afraid don't know what to do. They're afraid to say anything about it. They're afraid. We're approaching a period of time here where people in the old Soviet Union, and we're nowhere near that yet, folks. Don't misunderstand. But in the old Soviet Union, people had to retreat to their bathrooms to tell each other what they really thought about something for fear of being overheard by the state and being sent off to some re-education camp to get their minds right. Now, we're not there yet, but we've got a lot of people scared to death to oppose or speak out against Obama for a whole host of reasons. They don't want to be called racist, or they just don't like controversy, or what have you. The problem with these people who they don't know what to do is there's no elected Republican leadership right now that is giving them an opportunity to support and vent and have a release for some of the rage. They have to keep it all pent up. There's nothing they can do with it. Eventually, some leader in the Republican Party is going to surface. It'll happen. And we had this story yesterday in USA Today. Well, who's the Republican leader? I mean, there's no Republican leader. Look at these bald white guys. 13% approval for Limbaugh. Somebody name for me the Democrat leader 6 months into George Bush's first term. Who was the Democrat leader throughout the first term of Bush's president? Who was it? Can you name it? There wasn't one, was there? These people are running around like ants in an anthill, trying to figure out what to do next. Who was the Democrat leader after the 2004 Bush victory? Who was there? Wasn't one. It's traditional parties that lose elections go through this massive reorganization, reformation. They go through all of this backbiting, and eventually it ends as you get close to the next election, and they come up with somebody. And it was the same thing for the Democrats. But the media today, the state-run media, is intent on keeping the Republican Party a minority party and a minority movement forever by continually disrespecting it. It's so obvious that it's what's happening. It's nothing unusual outside the realm of politics or within the realm of politics for a party 6 months after losing an election to have some leader. And that's not going to happen until there is a candidate, presidential nominee. And might be somebody servicing 210, who knows, but those are going to be congressional and Senate races. At any rate, thanks for the call, Linda. I appreciate it. A brief timeout. We'll be back before you know it. All right, stand by on these Obama sound bites I just got, 27, 28, and 29. Let's retie the knot here on the shooting at the Holocaust Museum in Washington, D.C. A hater, a nutcase who hates neocons, i.e. Jews, this von Brunn guy, attacks the Holocaust Museum and has in his possession the address of the Weekly Standard, a publication that is run by neocons, a term invented by liberals as a code word to describe Jews who run American foreign policy for the express defense of Israel. So this hater of neocons, hater of conservative Jews, von Brunn, attacks the Holocaust Museum. There is another guy who hates neocons. His name is Chris Matthews. And he works at MSNBC, which is a network of endless hate. They spit it out 24/7 on that network. So another guy who hates the neocons, Chris Matthews, blames it all on me last night. But of course, all of that's pap. All of that's nothing but a cheap political play that fits a stereotype that bears no resemblance to reality. Here's Obama. Now, Obama's out in Green Bay today, and he's doing a town hall meeting on socialized medicine, government health care. And the reason he's out there doing this is because the polling on this is not looking good. Let me turn over here. Let's see. Yes. Conservatives for Patients' Rights is a group that's stopping Obama. And they've got a link on their website, post on their website today here that the cracks are forming around public opinion and government-run health care. The cracks are forming on all of Obama's policies. Now, his approval number is still 62%. The Fox News poll just came out today. They sent it to me. And he's 2%. He was at 60% in the last reporting period a couple of weeks ago. His approval rating is 62%. But if you look at issues, it's all fallen apart on him. Nobody approves of his issues on things. It's the most amazing thing. And he knows it. I think there is panic going on in the White House. This is not how it's supposed to. We're not even 6 months in. This guy was supposed to be universally loved and adored. There was not supposed to be one word of criticism that anybody would take seriously or listen to. And those people, the critics, would all be marginalized. They would have, and we were all going to be yummy, hummy, coming together, all this unity. No more shootings at Holocaust museums, no more shootings in Arkansas. None of this was supposed to happen. And now we find out it's worse. Things are worse in this country than when Obama took office. And in fact, what did I do with it? Here it is. American households lost $1.33 trillion of their wealth in the first 3 months of the year as the recession took a bite out of stock portfolios and dragged down home prices. The Federal Reserve reported today household net worth fell to $50.38 trillion in the January-March quarter. Americans' net worth shrinks by $1.33 trillion in the first quarter. Gone. Poof. Since Obama was put into office. And don't say that January wasn't his. He was running the show behind the scenes as part of the transition. He was urging Bush to bail out General Motors. He was doing a whole bunch of stuff. $1.3 trillion. Poof. So he's out there in Green Bay today, and he's trying to revive the polling on health care. And he gets a very tepid response, very weak applause to his presentation here of a public insurance option.
One of the options in the exchange should be a public insurance option. And the reason is not because we want a government takeover of health care. I've already said it. If you've got a private plan that works for you, that's great. But we want some competition. If the private insurance companies have to compete with a public option, it'll keep them honest. And it'll help keep their prices down.
My friends, I really resent the position this man puts me in. But that's a lie. There will be no private insurance once they get a public option. That's the dirty little secret. There will be no competition. That's the dirty little secret. Once a public option is in place, the insurance companies not going to be able to compete. They're not even going to try. The insurance companies are going to try to offload. Once there is a public option, you're going to see the insurance companies get out of it and get on board the government plan for a whole host of reasons. The dirty little secret here is that the idea of a public option is to end up with a single payer, and that's the federal government. Now, the response to me did not sound tepid. But it was. It may not sound tepid to you, but if you looked at it on television and saw it, you would agree that the applause here is not roaring. I mean, it's not like he's used to getting. Here's the next soundbite.
I'll be honest, even with these savings, reform will require some additional upfront resources. And that's why I've proposed that we scale back how much the highest income Americans can deduct on their taxes take it back to the rate that existed under the Reagan years. And we could use some of that money to help finance health care reform.
That's not very much applause. We scale back how much highest income Americans can deduct on their taxes, take us back to the rate that existed under the Reagan years. Well, now, there were many rates that existed under the Reagan years. This is also designed to fool you because everybody associates Reagan with tax cutting. Properly so. You know what the top marginal rate was when Ronald Reagan took office? 70%. The top marginal rate when Ronald Reagan left office was 28%. But it took 8 years to lower those rates. So what rate is he talking about here? 70%? 50%? What rate's he talking? He doesn't specify. He just wants more taxes on the rich. And somehow this is magically going to pay for health care, and all these people are going to get it for free. That's the impression he's trying to leave. Here's the next one.
There are some folks who say socialized medicine. You hear that all the time. Yes. Socialized medicine. Well,
yes,
socialized medicine would mean that the government would basically run all of health care. They would hire the doctors. They would run the hospitals. They just run the whole thing. Great Britain has a system of socialized medicine. Nobody's talking about doing that. All right? So when you hear people saying socialized medicine, understand, I don't know anybody in Washington who is proposing that. Certainly not me. Socialized medicine is different from a single payer plan.
Well, stop. No, it's not. Have you not heard what Senator Kennedy is working on? Nobody in Washington is talking about what that is another, I don't like being in this position of having to call the president of the United States a liar, but I'm given no choice. Now, I've got to take a break, but I got a whole stack of stuff here on health care, and I'm going to get into it in the next hour because I have to now. We'll be back. Even if there is a private option in health care, like you're still going to have to pay for the government option. You're going to pay it in taxes. You're going to pay it in any number of ways. I just find it amazing. If you listen to President Obama out there in Green Bay, where he's being protested, by the way, but they're not going to report that. Protesters outside. It's amazing how he gets so defensive when people speak the truth about his plans. Here is socialized medicine. Very defensive when the truth is spoken about this man. And welcome back. We're here, Rush Limbaugh, serving humanity. executing assigned host duties flawlessly. 0 mistakes. The telephone number is 800-282-2882, and the email address, lrushbo@eibnet.com. President Obama this afternoon in Green Bay doing a town hall meeting promoting his socialized medicine reform. And an unidentified member of the audience says, what's your philosophy about primary care and the role of primary care? You subscribe to the medical home theory. How do you engage patients? Did somebody really show up with this question? I'm sorry, I interrupted myself halfway through the question. I have my doubts here that somebody got up in Green Bay today, so I'm going to go to the town meeting, I got a question. What is your philosophy about primary care and the role of primary care? Do you subscribe to the medical home theory? How do you engage patients in this model so that risk can be better managed and we can ultimately result in a population that has better health at a lower cost? Now, would somebody... I can't sit here and believe that some citizen in Green Bay came up with this question. Well, I'm not suggesting anything. I'm saying that this is a planted question. Anyway, here's the one's answer.
The more we are incentivizing high-quality primary care, prevention, wellness, management of chronic illnesses. I mean, one of the things that it turns out is that about 20% of the patients account for 80% of the care and the costs of the healthcare system. And if we can get somebody, first of all, who is overweight to lose weight so that they don't become diabetic, we save tons of money.
Bingo, and that's exactly what he's going to have the power to do. That's the kind of power he's looking for once they get this. You know, Mona Charen in her syndicated column today said this is the ball game. Obama's health care is the ball game. If he gets this never gets rolled back. If he gets this, virtually every behavior that we engage in could be subject to regulation based on its cost to health care. Now, this statistic, 20% of the patients account for 80% of the care. Would he care to tell us the age of that 20%? Because I will guarantee you that the bulk of that 20% are people who have fewer years ahead of them than they have lived. I'm not being insulting here. I'm just saying 20% of the pay. Most of our expensive health care comes as we approach the end of life. Fact of life. That ought to tell us right there where we need to stop spending money on health care. This public option versus the private option. Look, all they're going to do is be expanding Medicare. That's all they're going to do, folks. Medicare is going to be expanded to where everybody has to use it. Even if you have a private option, even if you're able to go out and buy private insurance, you're still going to have to opt into the Medicare program. That's the objective. Now, Obama said a previous soundbite that we played, Obama said Great Britain has a system of socialized medicine. Nobody's talking about doing that. And that's, as I said, I don't like this man putting me in a position to have to accuse him of lying. I don't like saying that about the President of the United States, but one of his first acts upon taking office was to provide $1.1 billion through the Porculus bill for a national health care board that was designed to oversee the effectiveness of health services modeled after the UK's National Institute for Clinical Excellence. $1.1 billion was spent to create an identical type of bureaucracy that UK has, the United Kingdom, Britain, in its health care program. He also entitled the Federal Coordinating Council for Comparative Effectiveness Research. Its description sidesteps its intent of cost containment, noting that it will coordinate the conduct or support of comparative effectiveness and related health services research. And as the bill was passed without legislators reading it, the Porculus bill, let alone studying it, many concerns have been raised since its passage, both in the political and public realms, regarding exactly what and who this comparative effectiveness research will analyze and how those results are going to be implemented or enforced. The bottom line, he's already set up a socialized medicine healthcare board in the Porculus bill, modeled after the UK, which he admitted is a socialist system, socialized medicine. There's no other way to describe what the man wants to do than to call it socialized medicine. Single-payer socialized medicine. And it's all about control. It's not about cost. This man's not worried about the cost of anything. He doesn't care what anything costs. A trip to New York for a date? $12 trillion in debt over 10 years? Doesn't care what things cost. That's just to make you think he does. He doesn't care what health care costs. We don't have, in strict financial terms, we don't have the money as a country to be buying anything. We don't have the money. Do you realize we only have the money because the Chinese buy our bonds? But we don't have the money. We are spending so far beyond our income. He doesn't care about that. There's no way any government program has reduced the cost of anything that I know of. Do you know that 25 or 30 years ago, there were, let me find this, where is it here? Mona Charon has it. Sally Pipes, Top 10 Myths of American Healthcare. 30 years ago, in Medicare, Medicaid, and so forth, there were 252 mandates on insurance companies. Today, there are 1,901 mandates. That's an average of 38 per state. Now, what is a mandate? Well, to understand a mandate, you first have to beware of politicians bearing statistics. And what's even more galling than misleading or using outright false statistics is to watch politicians rail about the expense of health insurance without once acknowledging their own role in jacking up the price. Healthcare is expensive. But our jerry-built system has made buying insurance much more expensive than it should be. State mandates require insurance companies to cover a variety of specialized medical services, usually at the behest of lobbyists. Examples of mandates that some states now require to be covered by health insurance: in vitro fertilization, marriage therapy, smoking cessation classes, hormone replacement therapy, chiropractor visits, and so on. All of these mandates, and there were only 252 of these 30 years ago. Now there are almost 2,000. And each new mandate raises the cost to the insurance company. If you're going to force them to cover marriage therapy or alcohol and drug abuse, if you're going to force them to cover that, what do you think is going to happen to the premiums? They have to go up. All of these mandates make it, and these are just the tip of the iceberg. Once they get this mandate, this whole program under their belt in Washington, they're going to be mandating everything, and they're going to be covering it, and we're going to be paying for it. So the mandates make it impossible here for companies to offer cheap, no-frills, high-deductible plans for the young and the healthy. When 20% of the population is responsible for 80% of the health care cost, what that tells us is that we ought to offer insurance plans to the young that basically handle their catastrophes, potential catastrophes and emergencies. But not everyday walks of life matters, like marriage therapy or just a standard checkup visit or what have you. But we do. These people that are not putting much strain on the healthcare system ought to be able to buy insurance policies that don't cost very much money at all. But there's no availability of those kinds of policies because of all the mandates from the states that insurance companies have to cover. And by the way, the insurance companies don't mind, because guess who's paying for the insurance in a lot of cases? Employers? The government? I tell you, this whole system went south the moment the government got involved in this, something like 40 years ago. Because when the consumer, when the patient no longer was responsible for the bill, that was the end of it. Imagine if we had hotel room insurance. What do you think a hotel room would cost if you didn't have to pay for it, if somebody else was? Or anything, if you had insurance for any other service. Car insurance, not wreck, but just to own one. What do you think would happen to the price? When the consumer figures out that he didn't have to pay for it, he doesn't care. When the employer's providing the insurance, the consumer doesn't care. And that's why consumers now all of a sudden complain about copays and how much they do have to pay, because they don't expect to have to pay anything. That's the way the whole system's been built. And you haven't seen anything yet until they get what they want. Now, the New York Times has an interesting story today. Doctors Group opposes public insurance plan. This is the AMA. As the healthcare debate heats up, the American Medical Association is letting Congress know that it will oppose creation of a government-sponsored insurance plan, which Obama and other Democrats see as essential. The opposition comes as Obama prepares to address the AMA on Monday in Chicago. But the doctors, my friends, the AMA doesn't have a whole lot of bargaining power. And do you want to know why? The reason is, if these doctors, if the AMA get too aggressive here, they risk angering Democrats who already control their income via Medicare. This is political health care at play here. If the doctors are too aggressive in fighting the public plan, they risk alienating Democrats whose support they need for legislation to increase their Medicare fees. Right now, what's the... It is... I need these statistics right in front of me, and I'm not sure that it's in this particular story. But right now, Medicare reimburses doctors 81%. And in some cases, less. The government's already telling doctors what they can earn and what they can charge with Medicare patients, which is why a lot of doctors are opting out of Medicare. And one of the reasons they want national health care is to get doctors back in it and give doctors no choice. So the 81%, and if they anger these Democrats too much, okay, we're going to cut your pay to 60%. They could do it. Now, we've talked about Obama and his teleprompter. And the teleprompter has a website, a blog. And here's the entry for yesterday. Big guy, meaning Obama. This is the teleprompter talking to us here on its blog. Big guy's pretty excited. Going to get to go home to Chicago next week for a speech on his health care reform plan. We're going to be speaking at the AMA. It might seem like the wrong forum for Big Guy to talk about how under our health care plan, we're essentially going to take money out of the pockets of doctors and make them work for free, but that's overlooking two facts. One, this is Obama, and we're doing it in Chicago. As Emanuel says, the doctors will like it, or they can practice medicine at the bottom of Lake Michigan and see how well that billing system works for them. This is of course it's satire and humor, but this is founded in reality. Why it's funny. So the AMA, they're not happy about this at all, but they don't have much choice. Because they're so dependent on Medicare for so much of their income. I tell you, I don't know why we believe anything Obama says. He said that unemployment would not rise above 8%. He is spending this nation into bankruptcy. He has no idea how his policy will work, or any of his policy, none whatsoever. He has no idea how to pay for this. He has done nothing to fix Medicare or Medicaid. Why believe anything he says? What has he ever run? He's never run anything. All he's done is agitate people in neighborhoods in Chicago. But he's never run anything, much less successfully. I don't want to hear about good intentions. I don't want to hear about how he's going to lower costs. He doesn't know how to do this. He doesn't know the first thing about health care. He knows about liberalism and ideology, and he knows about power. He knows about authoritarianism. He doesn't know beans about the healthcare business. He doesn't know anything about the car business. He doesn't know, and he's put somebody in charge who admits he doesn't know the car business at General Motors. He doesn't know anything. I don't know why anybody believes anything he says. He has already, with projected budget deficits for the next 10 years, run up a $12 trillion debt, which is going to end up higher, actually. It always does. And yet he's not done. He's not finished. The AMA, as I said in the opening of this program, we're now being trained, we're now being told to hate the doctors and to hate the insurance companies. This is an administration and liberalism that fosters and promotes hate to get what it wants. And you watch the AMA, now they're on the front page of New York Times. Oh, we don't like what Obama's going to do. You watch how they're going to be characterized in the next couple of days. They're going to be characterized as a special interest group, only out for themselves, and they're going to pit the AMA doctors against all of you for the express purpose of getting you to hate the doctors, to put pressure on the doctors to buckle and accept Obama's plan. That's how this is going to happen. You just wait. These Medicare doctors, they're in the same spot as the bankers are. The Medicare doctors are in the same spot as the car company executives are. They're just like Ken Lewis, they're just like General Motors, Chrysler. They are controlled by government already, and they're going to be controlled even more by government. And yet, President Obama in Green Bay had the audacity to say this.
Government can't do all of this. I'm the first one to acknowledge this. That's why I'm always puzzled when people, they go out there creating this boogeyman about how Obama wants government run every... I don't want government to run stuff. Like I said, I've got enough stuff to do. I've got North Korea, and I've got Iran, and I've got Afghanistan and Iraq, and I don't know where people get this idea that I want to run stuff, or I want government to run stuff. I think it'd be great if the healthcare system was working perfectly, and we didn't have to be involved at all. That would be wonderful. That's not how it's worked.
Ken Lewis, Bank of America chief executive, testified today in Washington and said this.
It is true that we were told that if we went through, or I can't exactly remember the exact words, so please give me license with word for word, but basically if we went through with calling the MAC, that the government could or would remove management and the board. And I've said in the past that it was the threat was not what gave me concern. What gave me concern that they would make that threat to a bank in good standing. So it showed the seriousness with which they thought that we should not call a MAC, a material adverse change. And so as a result of that, that was a factor in our decisions, because here your regulators and the federal government was saying, we don't think calling the MAC is the best thing for you or the financial system.
Obama doesn't want to control anything. This is Ken Lewis basically admitting that he, Bank of America, was pressured into buying Merrill Lynch. Obama didn't want to run anything. He doesn't want to run anything. He's not doing a thing about Iran or Afghanistan or Iraq. He is running General Motors. He is running Chrysler. He has appointed people. He's firing CEOs. What does he mean? He doesn't want to run anything. Good God, folks. What the hell is this bump? You know, it's Baker Street. See, I haven't heard this in so long. It sounds like somebody screaming on an operating table to me. All right. I thought Mamone was bringing home music from home again. One more healthcare story, then I want to go to the phones. You remember this story from back in April? In the past 6 years, this is for the Austin American Statesman. In the past 6 years, 8 people from Austin and 1 from Luling, Texas, racked up 2,678 emergency room visits in Central Texas, costing hospitals, taxpayers, and others $3 million, according to a report from a nonprofit made up of hospitals and other providers that care for the uninsured and low income of Central Texas. 9 people in 6 years went to 1 emergency room 2,600 times. This points out something that is never discussed in healthcare, and that is the abuse of the system by American citizens. Abuse that is paid for by everybody else. Well, what has become part and parcel of the whole healthcare debate is that we're all sick all the time. We are all justified in going to the doctor every day because we're told every day that drinking this is going to kill us, or eating that's going to prolong your risk to cancer, or driving that fast. We're told we're sick every day. The sun can make us sick. So people go to the doctor all the time. We never talk about curbing that. We never talk about people curbing. We do try to get people to drive less. We do try to get people to drive smaller cars, but we don't ever tell people, stay away from the doctor. You're not sick. Here are people going to the ER because there's a law in the country that says if you don't have any health insurance cover, you're going to still get covered at the ER. That's why it's always been bogus to talk about the number of people without health insurance, because nobody is denied medical care here of an emergency nature. Go to the ER. We never, ever talk about those of our fellow citizens who are not little angels and victims of whatever's going on. They're a bunch of spoiled, brat, slothful hypochondriacs who abuse the system and cost everybody a whole bunch of money. We never, ever hear. We only hear the opposite, that everybody's sick all the time and everybody justified to every trip to the doctor they make. All right. Of course I know what I just done, and I guarantee you more people agree with me than not. How else? 2,600 visits from 9 people to 1 ER over 6 years. What the hell else is this? 9 people, Snurdly. Of course I know what I just said. 9 people. 1 emergency room. 2,678 visits in 6 years. 9 people. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 people. Do I know what I just said? Not only do I know what I just said, I'm damn proud of myself for saying it. Just like we have trained a whole generation of people to not work and think they're entitled to be paid for it anyway, we have created millions of people who think they're entitled to a doctor visit every day with 1 sniffle, 1 sneeze, or 1 cough. We've got everybody thinking that everything in life is going to kill them, that they're getting sick every day. The danger's inside the house. We just had that story. Then the danger's outside the house. My God, folks, do you realize life is such a risk? We all should have just been aborted. And now we got a story today that it maybe in a couple of billion years, the Earth might collide with Mercury. So for those of you still alive, a couple billion years from now, that's another thing you have to be afraid of. And so you can develop a psychosis and go to some psychiatrist if your health care insurance covers it, because somebody told you the Earth's going to collide with Mercury in a couple billion years. See how this works? No wonder. I guess we how many walking zombies we have in this country. And it's not all their fault. I mean, all they got to do is watch government-run media for 1 straight week, and they will hear a minimum of 10 different things that's currently killing them or threatening to kill them. All right. Rebecca in Ormond Beach, Florida. I'm glad you waited. Rebecca, thank you much.
Rush, I agree with every syllable, every sentence you say. Oh, great one. I called 17 years ago, and you encouraged me to go to medical school. My husband and I are both family physicians. We are pro-life doctors. We have 5 children. I could not agree with you more. It is a combination. The whole healthcare debacle is a combination of no personal responsibility. People run to the doctor for everything. How many cases of swine flu did I see? 0. How many patients came thinking they had the swine flu? 1,000. They come for toenail fungus. And then the other part that I've heard you talk on in the past is defensive medicine. You know, a guy comes in with a headache, and I know it's just a migraine. I send him out with a pill, but no, I've got to order an MRI and get him to a neurologist. And that's cha-ching, you know, every visit. You do the math, and you can see how billions of unnecessary tests.
Exactly right, because if this guy comes in with a headache and you don't give him all the tests and he goes out and has a wreck in a car, he can sue you.
Right, exactly. So that defensive medicine could be fixed by a simple reform of the tort system. Personal responsibility, reform of the tort system. We do not need, you know, more Medicare. We don't even take Medicaid. Medicare is a mess. We do not need Obama-run health care.
When did I recommend you or suggest you become a doctor?
I called you Quincy, Illinois in 92. You said, follow what you love. I always loved medicine, and I went to med school. It was the best thing I ever did.
And is that where you met your husband?
I met my husband in residency in Daytona Beach, and we're pro-life doctors. We don't even write birth control. We have a lovely practice. We have 8 employees. We've run this practice for 8 years. I think we have a very good reputation in town. We love what we do.
How many Medicare patients do you have?
We probably have 5,000 patients. Probably more. I mean, last count was...
But how many of them are Medicare? Testing. Hello. Did we lose her? Oh, the line dropped. Well, I wanted to ask her, how much does she get reimbursed? Because I think that's the 81% figure. In some cases, lower for the Medicare cases. And she had 5,000 patients. I don't think they're all Medicare. But we'll be able to ask another doctor at some point. You see that, folks? 17 years ago, I told this woman, follow your passions, follow what you love. And look at her. She did it. Yeah, I don't think I advised her to get married, but you know, I did suggest follow your passions, go to med school. She did it. Robin in Martinsburg, Virginia, hello, and welcome to the EIB network.
Thank you, Rush. Thank you so much for taking my call.
Yes, ma'am.
I was born and raised in New Zealand and left there when I was 22 to come to the States, which was the best thing I ever did in my life.
Really? I'm thinking of buying property there.
Well, I mean, it's a great country to buy property in, but...
I saw a ranch now. You could get something huge ranch, a lot of acreage, and it was remarkably inexpensive.
It's a beautiful country, but I was raised on socialized medicine.
Yeah, that's the only bad thing about it, but...
It's not... I go back every year to visit my family, and what I wanted to mention about socialized medicine is that my mother was on a waiting list for 3 years before she could have cataract surgery done. There are waiting lists there for people who need hip replacements done, knee replacements done, where they have to wait 5 years to get that done. And so a lot of times people pass away before they come up to have their surgery. The people who get cancer and need chemotherapy, the older they are, they're not given chemotherapy. It's saved for the younger ones to save the cost. And so it's not a good program. So I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, we hear horror stories like that out of the UK, too.
Yes.
It's gotten so bad there that there aren't any lines. There's still lines, but they're telling some people, look, if you get breast cancer, stay at home. We can't handle it.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's. They hear the same things to a lesser degree from Canadians. Well, yeah, that governor of Colorado, Richard Lamb said the elderly have a duty to die, get out of the way, and not put so much cost pressure on the healthcare system. Yeah, and by the way, he was Democrat that was urging that to happen. I got some more I want to say on healthcare, but there's the remaining moments here. But something Obama said he's working on a lot of stuff out there. North Korea is working on Iraq. He doesn't have time to run healthcare. He doesn't have time to run the car company. It's silly. You don't want to run anything. He ain't got too much to deal with out there, like North Korea nuking up, Iran nuking up. He's not doing anything about it. Key world powers agreed yesterday on a draft of a United Nations resolution that would sharply increase export and financial sanctions against the Norcs as punishment for its recent nuclear weapons and missile tests. Well, it really stopped Iran, didn't it? Folks, North Korea. Now, they've been in the news a little bit lately, but they've been overwhelmed here by other things. But North Korea is on the minds of those at the Heritage Foundation, has been for months now. They have been reading research and insightful information at askheritage.org for some time. Members have been doing this. Long before state-controlled media picked up the story on North Korea, the Heritage Foundation was producing and releasing a film called 33 Minutes. 33 minutes is the length of time that it would take for a ballistic missile launched from North Korea to reach a U.S. city with devastating effects. 33 minutes. But don't worry, Obama's working on it. Don't want to control anything. This documentary, 33 minutes, makes the case for just how Americans can and should protect themselves. So members of the Heritage Foundation already up to speed on the effects of Obama's budget cut request of some $1.4 billion in missile defense. That's a budget cut at the absolute wrong time. If you become a member at askheritage.org, you can view highlights of this documentary, www.askheritage.org. Become a member. I am. It's cost-effective. One of the many, many things you suddenly have access to is setting up a screening of this film with friends and neighbors. 33 minutes. AskHeritage.org. That's an unbelievable story we had from the doctor from Ormond Beach 17 years ago, inspired by me to become a doctor, proving that I create jobs, proving that I save jobs. All she needed was a little encouragement, and then she decided to go to medical school. And now she's helping other people. What is Obama inspiring? What is Obama inspiring? What is he encouraging people to do? Nothing. It's sit on their butts. He's encouraging people to give up, to sit on their butts and let the government redistribute wealth to them. He's not inspiring anybody. He is, in fact, his policies are depressing the whole spirit of achievement. He goes out and talks about preventative medicine, preventive care. Somebody explain something to me. How is waiting in lines preventive of anything? How is rationing health care preventive of anything? He's out there selling bull again, folks. Cut costs, ration care, yet offer more care to more people. It's all nuts. He just cannot be believed, and he really demonstrated this today, as he does every day. I have an idea, and it's a very simple idea. Why don't we wait to see how his promises on the economy work out before he takes over another 20% of the private sector? What's the hurry here? American people aren't in a hurry. Slow down, Barack. You've already spent $12 trillion. You don't have the money to do this anyway. Let's sit back. Let's wait and see if anything else he's doing works before we jump into this. That's what the Republicans ought to be saying instead of fooling around on the margins of this, accepting the premise. Just put your hand up and say, stop. We're going to wait until you Republicans want a campaign slogan? I'll give you one. It's very simple. We're not Democrats. We are not Democrats. I'll tell you why Obama wants to hurry. I'll answer my own question. If he doesn't get it done now, he's not going to get it done because everything he's doing is falling apart. Everything he's doing is crumbling. He's in a state of panic out there. He wants it done because he gets this. He gets health care. And, folks, as Mona Charen wrote, it's the ball game. That's all she wrote. In socialized medicine, government-run health care, you heard him say, the overweight. Yeah, folks, I got to tell you something. I think those of you that regularly exercise playing softball, baseball, basketball, soccer, mountain biking, running, rock climbing, skiing, skating, running. You're the people getting injured. You're the people showing up at the hospital with busted knees and tendons and skin cancer, ankle sprains, knee and hip replacements, broken bones, concussions, muscle, ligament, tendon, cartilage strains and tears, tendinitis, rotator cuff tears. All you exercise freaks, you're the ones putting stress on the healthcare system. What happens when people don't regularly exercise, keep their weight relatively under control? Nothing. They probably don't even know their doctor's names. So you're urged to go out there and do all of this stuff, and you're ending up in the hospital all the time with these injuries. And some people think these injuries are badges of honor. Knee surgery scars, a badge of honor, shows toughness. Yeah, toughness somebody else has to pay for. We'll be back. Well, it's the fastest week in media, folks. Do you realize it's Thursday already? Tomorrow's going to be Friday, and that's Open Line Friday, where I take one of the greatest career risks ever taken in big media, and that's letting rank amateurs pick the subjects that we talk about. Lovable, but nevertheless rank amateurs. Gotta go. Been fun today. See you tomorrow, and we'll look forward to it. Adios.